get it like I want it, get it like I want it, get it like I want it, get it like I want it. Get it like I want it, 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 get it.
All right, so we have here Slingshot open, and we're going to take a look at a couple of use cases of how this can be used and take a listen to the sound of it and kind of get a feel for it. So the first thing to note, as soon as you open Slingshot, your entire DAW playback will be delayed until you print your Slingshot sample back onto your timeline. In order to create the delay before the sample, it needs to delay the playback so that way it has time to play the delay sample. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. Now notice right here when we press play, it's playing the delayed signal. So it's delaying the entire playback just a little bit. And as soon as we're happy with our delayed signal, we're gonna hit capture, print. Now that it's printed, we can drag this clip exactly to where we want it. Now we can just disable this on our regular track and our signal will no longer be delayed. It's a very important first thing to note, just in case you think there's some sort of issue or CPU issue. It's none of that. It just needs to be delayed back in order to generate the delayed signal. Once it's bypassed, you're fine. So looking at some of the features here, start from the top and work towards the bottom. Here we have a number of different presets, professionally made to match different situations. We have a number of different drum presets. One I really like is the kick riser. Now, as you can hear, we have that nice delayed backwards kind of low end frequency going into the kick. It's playing on all the drums. If we only wanted to apply to the first hit or the first transient of the loop, we'll just turn in lead in only. Now it's only applied to the first signal it goes into. So there's a lot of really well-made presets if you want to just kind of hop in and toggle through them, play with some. There's also a randomize button here that is super cool for sound design and kind of just experimenting and find one that sounds awesome to you. It's got a nice bounce. This cool little kind of background effect, like bouncy background effect. And remember, we have this mix button down here. So if we want just a little bit of it, we can kind of mix it in there. So we have the randomize button. We have a number of different professionally made presets. Then we have settings you can change yourself up here at the top. First thing to note is aligned is going to apply the delayed signal, whereas live is going to skip it. So as you can see with live, we're still getting the Slingshot effect. However, it's no longer delayed and it's no longer going to be coming into this clip. Then we could separate it by measure. So we have like a really fast 1/128th note. So we can really control the speed and keep it on beat or just have it live if we wanted. Down here we have delayed character. So these are going to be different flavors of delay that are leading into our sound. So we can do clean, a tape delay, analog, diffuse, which is excellent for some cool sound design effects, and then ping pong, which is going to be back and forth on the stereo field. Filtered as well. So we have a couple different characters we can select from. A really cool feature also is which direction we want the reverb to go in. Another really cool feature is we can determine which direction we want the delayed signal to play back in, forward or backwards. So if we want our delayed signal to play in reverse, kind of have that almost turntable-like effect where the transient is playing backwards, and then if it's forward, it's just a normal delayed signal leading into it. Again, if we want to get experimental, there's a grain feature. A lot of flexibility there. This is the capture feature, which we kind of already went over. Basically, wherever we want it to start playing from. Record and then play to print, and now we have our signal we can drag in, and at this point we can either delete our original track or use this as needed with Slingshot off. So we can openly control the time settings and the intensity up here by grabbing this dot and dragging it wherever we want. So we can control the slope, we can control the time. the mix, so our dry wet of the entire module. The shape, so we can have an aggressive curve or more of a sloped curve. So this width control is actually the bandwidth of the frequencies of the delayed signals. So notice if it's down here, it's low, whereas if we move it up more, it's a lot higher in frequency. This one pretty much pairs with width. And this is essentially the formant. So it gives us some nice controls of the tone and the frequency of the delayed signal. Feedback, so this is going to be just like your feedback control on a regular delay module. And then we have a drive control. Note that this drive control is for the delayed signal and does not affect the actual audio signal coming in. So this is a very interesting control, snap. So this is going to be the transient shape of the delayed signal. So let's say we have something snappy like a snare. If we turn on snap, listen how now the transient is super sharp, whereas if we turn it down, it's going to be a lot less steep of a transient shape. Then for some more experimental type stuff, we have pitch and formant, which we can lock together. Or use independently. This stereo control is for the actual stereo image of the entire sound. This is just a general reverb knob to implement some reverb on top of our delayed signal. We have 3 different types of reverb we can utilize here: room, hall, and plate. So moving down to the bottom here, we have the delayed filter. Like we were talking about up here, the width, this is going to apply to this. So this is the same as in Ableton, you have your delayed signal. So it's really just going to be which frequencies are being fed back through ahead of the signal. And then we can actually control the frequency here like we were doing up here. Then we could toggle this on and off if we'd like. The last module we're going to look at is the modulation module. So this we can actually map to a number of different things, and this is really cool for kind of experimental delay sound design. So we can control our shape. So if we want to use a sine wave, triangle, or saw, square, random, and then we can choose to sync it by bars if we want, and then the target. So pitch is a pretty cool one. Filter, so we can add some movement to the filter down here. Or the stereo image. Then we can also control the rate and the depth. So pretty intuitive, some very cool controls here, and some very unique sound design and foreshadowing tools that previously we've never been able to utilize unless we physically found a delay, reversed it, and went back and forth reversing it until we found the way that we wanted it set. Now we don't have to do any of that. We can literally just find a setting we like, capture it, and drag it right into the clip, and it should line up directly. So it makes it very easy, very intuitive, very powerful tool. This is the first of its kind. I'll link it in the description with the discount code. Definitely go grab it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.